Jennifer here. We are going to today learn a few quick, effective, and simple movements to help us really go deeper into our breath. Which breathing sounds so simple, like you're probably like, I'm doing it now, I don't need a video on it, but you do. Because when we're upright or active, how and where, like what's moving and what's not moving when we're breathing can really affect how our core is working, right? Our intra-abdominal pressure, the pressure on the pelvic floor, on the neck, our ability to really work abdominal endurance and keep tension out of our back when we're upright or active. The breath has a huge impact on that. So let's go a little deeper here today. It's actually one of the basic principles of Pilates, breathing. And I often will say it's one of the hardest ones to really get down because we are just so used to breathing how we breathe. But it makes a big compound effect because we're always breathing. So the first one we're gonna do, so two props we're going to use today. The one is a resistance band like this. I'm gonna start with that. And then the other one is a stability ball. If you don't have a stability ball, you can also use a Bosu, if you have a Bosu. I'm gonna use this because I think a lot of people have this. So we're gonna start, I'm gonna be seated on the ball. You can be seated anywhere, but I'm gonna start here since I have it. I'm gonna take this resistance band and bring it around, I'm gonna show this from the side, bring it around the ribs. Now, a big piece of breathing when we're upright and active, is to really be able to move the ribs to the side, east, kind of sort of east-west, and to the back. It's like a posterior lateral movement to be able to do so. I'm taking this band, I'm gonna come down a little bit. I'm taking this band pretty high up on the rib cage here, as opposed to down by my waist, up by the rib cage, and I'm just crossing it one time in the front. And you have control over how much tension you want in this band. It's just a little feedback, a little tactile we're gonna use. So from here, what we're gonna do is you can do this standing as well. I like it from a seated position in the beginning because it's just one less thing to think about is how we're standing. So we're sitting on top of the sit bone, just nice and neutral. The band has a cross in the front. And then from here, just make sure the ribs are down before you start. And I'm gonna show this one actually from the side. Watch that we're not starting in a position where the sternum is lifted up. Look at my arm, because if you can see now, my back is gonna be jammed up. I won't really be able to breathe into the ribs. My back is already too tight to do that. So we wanna make sure our sternum, I'm gonna move my arm again, our sternum is vertical. So now you can see that aligns the spine. And you'll feel that if you're doing it at home. You want the sternum vertical so the rib cage is sitting on top of the pelvis, not out in front of it. And now we'll have a lot more ability to move this part of the back. So as we breathe in, we're gonna try to stretch that band out a little bit with our ribs, especially to the sides and back. And then as we exhale, I'm gonna jump toward to make the band a little bit tighter. Think about the abs sort of wrapping in. So as we breathe in, the ribs expand. And then as we breathe out, they draw in. And really thinking about that expansion happening to the sides and back of the rib cage especially. Trying to keep that nice connection through the deep core. We don't have to let it go because we're not taking a big belly breath. So we can keep that nice core support even on the inhale, which is one of many reasons why it's really nice when we need core support when we're upright or active. The shoulders aren't shrugging up. We're not breathing, actively up into our neck. We're just getting that nice movement. So working that intra-abdominal pressure through the breath. And it might be hard. The sides of the ribs are a little bit easier to move than going to the back usually. So if you feel a little sticky in the rib cage, start with going east to west. Think about expanding the ribs towards the side walls. And then think about expanding them towards the back. And if the back is really hard to move at all right now, don't worry, the next exercise that we're going to do will help with that. So we'll do one more of these. Good. And then from here, I'm gonna show the next one. So we're gonna put the band to the side. Now the ball's up. So again, you can do this over a Bosu as well if that's what you have, either one. You just want this sort of round surface, or an arc barrel, like a Pilates arc barrel works too. So we're gonna just drape ourselves over this ball, and it doesn't matter exactly, you know, where you are in the ball. Just make sure it feels comfortable and that you can really kind of relax over it and kind of make that little shape of the ball with your back. So I'm not holding myself up. I'm really just draping myself over this ball. And it depends on the size of your ball and, you know, what feels comfortable. You might be a little further forward or back than me. That's fine. You can, I'm gonna be talking. I don't want to talk into the ball, but you can let your head relax when you're doing this, obviously. Something like, you know, like that. So let that relax. And then we are still wrapping, you know, the low abdominals are connected here. Even though we don't need them because we're on the ball, but we're going to use that to work this. So the low abdominals are still connected here, as if there's support, you know, as if we did need some support. And then as we breathe in, we're going to think about really expanding into the side and back of the ribs here. So as we breathe in, and then as we breathe out, they draw back in. And I like lying on the ball or something, some sort of surface too, because you can feel, if you're belly breathing instead, you'll feel your belly kind of trying to push into the ball, and then you know it's going the wrong way. So think about kind of keeping that connection so that you're not pushing your belly into the ball or your chest into the ball, but really let that expansion be happening almost like we've got wings, right? Happening into the side and back of the ribs. And I know I keep popping my head up because I'm talking. When you're doing this at home, please let your head relax. And then just take a few rounds and see. I like to breathe in the sort of Pilates method, which is breathing in through the nose and then out through pursed lips, a little bit like you're blowing through a straw. And just feel that. And it's nice if the back is tight, this is a nice one just to release that as well. I like to do this as a prep before other exercises where I want to really make sure, or even activities like walking or running, where I want to make sure that I'm really breathing properly so that I have that support. Good, one more here. And then from here, I'm just gonna come up. So now we've worked that ability to maintain our connection in our core while still getting a full healthy breath. Because a big thing, especially when I'm teaching cardio, right? We want to make, or Pilates or something, we're doing a lot of core work, both of those things. We want to have a nice healthy breath, but core connection. And sometimes what we'll see is either no core connection or not enough. On the inhale, we have to let the abs go to breathe into the belly, or we're breathing up here and getting neck tension, or we're holding our breath so that we can keep our connection. So we want the best of both worlds, which is this breath, right? We can move the ribs and get a nice sort of rib cage breath, three-dimensional, but at the same time we have that nice core support. So let's test it maybe a little bit more. That might be enough for you right now. If you want to test it in sort of like some real life exercises, we can come into a quadruped position, and from here, think about maintaining that. So see if we can, working from this position, keep that connection in our deep core and really get some nice breath into the sides and back of the ribs as we inhale. And quadruped, and we'll move on to sit in the beginning, especially just trying this with really simple things like sitting, standing, quadrupeds, planks, which might be, some of those positions are really challenging, but they're simple so that we can think about our breath. If we're doing something really with a lot of choreography in the beginning, that's going to be hard to think about the breath. And then if you feel like this is going well, you can try it in a knees down plank, keeping that nice neutral spine. We're focusing on the breath, but I'm not cueing the other stuff too much, but we do want to think about in a plank, the wrists over the shoulders, middle fingers and elbow pits pointing straight ahead, shoulder blades flush on the back of the ribs, and that nice neutral pelvis. Try not to have the hips way up or in a sway back down. Good. And then here's the grand finale of this one. You can try here, or you can lift the knees up. And same thing. Now, if you lift the knees up and all of a sudden you're jammed up in the back and you can't get the rib cage breath, you're probably going to get, or you are going to get, a better core better core strength and better result in your core with the knees down plank, where you can breathe into the ribs. And the longer, as you work on that strength, then you can come up. But if you can't move your ribs and you're really jammed up in the back in this knees up position, even though it looks like it would be the more effective position, knees down actually sometimes can be more challenging. It's more advanced in a way to breathe into the ribs with the knees down than it is to be jammed up in the back with the knees up. So we want to make sure the right muscles are working and we have the pressure in the right place. Good. Maybe one more breath here. And then we'll bring the knees down. And then we can just stretch it back for a moment. If you were just doing that plank, maybe flip the palms up to open the shoulders. Maybe shift the hip side to side a little bit. Still think about, again, this position is nice. Think about just kind of breathing into the side and back of the ribs. And then hands into the shoulders will come back up. And that's it. So we've mastered some more advanced breathing, which really makes all of our core work and any upright or active position more effective for core strength and less likely to cause tension in our back. So happy moving. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you guys soon. Thanks.